Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 89, Ribas versus Namajunas. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, hit the subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast, and I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm tired. I'm tired from logging all this money around, baby. Back-to-back weeks with the clean sweep, hitting all our locks, hitting all our totals, hitting all our dogs, and even go ahead and just smashing that glory play as well. Marine round one sub. We are on a roll, literally not losing at all. Is it destined to come crumbling down? Fuck yeah. Yeah, it's going to come down pretty quick and it's going to come down pretty hard. Is this a card I'm very confident in? Fuck no. It's a real shitty Vegas card. It is what it is, but so was last week, and we hit everything. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a few parlays that had Kennedy in it that just absolutely fucked up the perfect week. The only thing I missed last week was Kennedy. Go figure, the biggest favorite in the on the whole slate. But it is what it is. MMA, UFC, it's a cruel bitch out there, but it's also a fun time when you're making money. Again, another 14 fight offering. A lot of these are pink slip fights, just like last week. You're going to see a lot of cuts with Dana White Contender Series coming. So you're asking, why do they have all these real shitty cards happening? Because they need to make room on the roster for the Contender Series fighters that are getting contracts. Plain and simple. You're seeing a lot of old fighters. You're seeing a lot of bad fighters. You're seeing a lot of losing streaks. You're seeing a lot of busted prospects. All these people are just so the UFC can get a beat, get a read on who to get rid of so they can bring the new crop in. So it sucks that makes these cards trickier to bet. But again, we're on a heater right now. I'm not even scared of a jinx right now because we are on fucking fire. So I can't even contain myself. I'm jumping right into the first fight of the night here. We're looking at Muhammad Usman at plus 120 going up against Mick Parkin at minus 140. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 165. Under 2.5 at plus 130. Let's go ahead and start with Mick Parkin because he's someone that I did not believe in. I watched his fight tape going into Contender Series. I thought he was kind of bad. I didn't think he was great. I thought his striking looked okay. I thought his jiu-jitsu looked okay, but it was against a very low level of competition. The guy's only 8-0, but he does train with Tom Aspinall, so it doesn't hurt to be training with the current champ, who I consider the champ. I love John Jones. I'm from New York. I think John Jones is the champ as well. I think we have two champions because we all know John's retiring after this, so it is what it is. Neither here nor there. The thing with Parkin is he does seem to be a little chinny. I've seen him wobbled in multiple fights. In addition, I thought he had good cardio. His cardio looked great against Jamal Pogues when he was in front of his home crowd. It looked god awful against Kyle Machado in his last fight. That was a real greasy decision we got there. I was very unimpressed. Just when I started getting on his hype train, I was off him the entire time. He puts on a hell of a performance against Jamal Pogues. I said, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the kid's not bad. And then he pulls that shit against Kyle Machado. I don't fucking know, man. I've just seen him look good and bad. His offensive wrestling's not bad. I saw him hit a few single legs. I've seen him with some body locks. I've seen him with some doubles, like good cage control. But it does tire him out when he wrestles. That's the thing. When he fought Jamal Pogues, he didn't wrestle at all. It was a 15-minute striking affair. His cardio checked out. The moment you make him wrestle, he seems to gas out a little bit, and that's concerning because that's what Usman likes to do. Usman's not good anywhere. He's only in the UFC because his brother is Kamaru Usman. Let's be frank. He is one of the worst fighters on the roster. His wrestling's okay. I will give him that he has a nice blast double. He's had a good fight camp with Fortis MMA. His striking's not great. It's not good. It's not bad. It's damn near serviceable, a touch under serviceable. But he has pretty low volume. Like he does not throw a ton. His wins in the UFC are at the bottom of the barrel here. I talked about Kyle Machado and I talked about Jamal Pogues from Mick Parkin. Dude, Muhammad Usman has fought Jake Collier, a blown up 185 pounder, Junior Tafa, who only has like 3 career fights, and it was his debut in the UFC. Zach Kawaga, who's now down at 205 and could potentially make 185, to be honest with you. So he's only fought one heavyweight in the UFC, and it was someone making their debut with like 3 professional fights. So yeah, not the greatest level of competition. In addition, he's kind of chinny. Jake Collier rocked him very badly. Zach Palaga rocked him. We saw him rocked in who was it? Was it Mitchell rocked him in the Ultimate Fighter show? He's been submitted by Brandon Sales, which is a terrible look. Brandon Sales is not good. And then he got dominated by Don'Tale Mayes, and I don't think Don'Tale Mayes is good. So he has no good wins. He has some pretty bad losses. He's very hittable, potentially chinny. He has decent counters, which kind of rides into his low volume. Whenever you're a counter striker, you have low volume. Just plain and simple. That's how it works. You're waiting on the other person to go first. But yeah, his jiu-jitsu is not great. His striking is not great. His wrestling's okay, but he doesn't have a chin. His cardio's 50-50. I've seen it look good. I've seen it look bad. Overall, he's just a pretty bad fighter. And he was getting absolutely killed by Jake Collier. And then that eye poke happened in the second round. And then Jake said he couldn't see. And then all of a sudden, Usman took over. So, yeah, he was well on his way to losing a fight to Jake Collier before cheating. Like, he literally poked him in the eye, and Jake could not see him. And then all of a sudden, Usman was landing. Go figure. So, I don't know. I'm not impressed with Usman at all. I've only been impressed with Parkin once. So, in that instance, I'm going to lean towards Parkin at minus 140. Am I going to bet it? Absolutely not. If you're gonna bet, if anything, it's dog or pass, or you can play with the alt lines a little. They're usually both a little slow pace. Neither one hit particularly hard, even though they might be a little chinny. I might not hate that over 1.5. I don't know if I'll touch it 2.5 at minus 165. But taking that alt line over 1.5 is probably the only way I'd play this. Other way, I'm staying away. The pick is gonna be Mick Parkin. The bet is gonna be an alt line at 1.5. Next fight of the night is one that I was ready to stay away from, and then I just had a change of heart, and I said, "Fuck it, you got to trust yourself." We have Igor Severiano at plus 150, going up against Andre Lima at minus 180. Over under set at 1.5. Interesting. Over 1.5 minus 210, under 1.5 at plus 160. Let's start with Igor since I keep butchering his name. He's only 20 years old. He is coming off of Dana White Contender Series. This is his debut off Contender Series. He's a shoot to box fighter. He's 8-0, and all shoot to box fighters kind of fight the same. They're very hittable. Keep coming at you, 100% finish rate, pretty decent jiu-jitsu. Problem with him is being 20 years old. He's very, very green, and you can see it. He's gonna have a 2-inch reach advantage in here, which is nice. He does have 100% finish rate, which is nice. His wrestling's not the worst in the world. It's pretty decent. He's a little hittable, but again, that's how the shoot to box guys fight. All in all, if you've ever seen Wiley Cat, I don't know why I can't think of his real name, Santos. If you've ever seen Charles Oliveira. Like, all these guys are good strikers, but they get hit a shit ton. And they're all pretty decent on the ground. Felipe Dos Anjos, we just saw. Like, all these shoot to box guys fight exactly the same. It's carbon copy. And I mean, they're all good. Charles is a former champion. Like, they're not bad. Their style, they're just a little hittable. And I don't like that, especially going over against, say, Andre Lima. Andre Lima initially I thought was a little overhyped, but I'm starting to believe the hype for after watching the fight tape. He's also undefeated coming off of Dana White Contender Series at 7-0. He's 25 years old, so he's not much older. He's 5 years old. I should say 5 years is a considerable amount, but he's not that much matured in his MMA career. He has really good striking. He has a kickboxing background prior to coming over to the UFC, so he has been striking his entire life, a lot longer than Cervino has. I believe Cervino started fighting just like 3 years ago, so that's why he looks so green, because he is. This is new to him. Lima, MMA is new to him, but he's been doing striking for a while, and he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, so he knows what's going on the ground, and it seems it. His wrestling offensively leaves a little to be desired. Defensively, really good hips, like very hard to take down. He has really, really good takedown defense. But when you do get him down to the ground, I did not like what I saw. Like in regards to urgency to get up off his back. That was earlier in his career, so I'll cut him a little slack because in the Contender Series fight, he did get taken down for like a split second, and his hips popped right back up, and he got up. So maybe him laying and playing jujitsu is a thing of the past. I've seen it look good. I've seen it look bad. It'll be interesting here. But at the end of the day, I don't know if Cervino's going to be able to take him down. Again, he has really, really, really good takedown defense. He's just stronger. A 20-year-old boy strength compared to 25-year-old man strength, you can see it. Like, he's a very, very strong guy. I don't know, man. He's really good everywhere. He kind of reminds me of Michael Morales. He's kind of like Michael Morales light, the way he fights, the way he strikes. It looks a little not labored. It looks very pedestrian, not even pedestrian. What's the word I'm looking for? Just like nonchalant, but it's very effective at the same time. It looks like he just genuinely doesn't really care, but when he does strike, it's explosive. It's very weird. He keeps the same face and demeanor too, like he's bored in there. It's interesting, but the dude has a ton of power. He has great cardio. And that's the only thing I saw with Servino. The major difference that made me definitely sway towards Lima is that Lima picked up the pace. Servino goes out there, 100% finish rate, thinks he's invincible. And will gas himself out trying to put you out. And Lima just seems durable as hell. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. Lima stalks repeatedly, constant pressure, does not take a step back. So if Servino's going to meet them head to head, I understand why this line is at 1.5. Someone's probably going out, to be honest with you. If I had to bet, I'm going to go ahead and trust the guy with more striking experience, better on the ground, and really good takedown defense. It leads me straight to Andre Lima. He crosses all the boxes. Am I happy trusting a 25-year-old who's only 7-0? No. But on the flip side, we have a 20-year-old that's only 8-0, so I trust him. So the pick is going to be Andre. The bet's going to be Andre. Next fight of the night is one that I'm also confident in, but scared to death to say it out loud. We have Montserrat Rendon at plus 180 going up against Daria, God help me, Zelium Nakova at minus 220. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 280. Under 2.5 at plus 210. Let's start with Rendon because I potentially think she might be the worst fighter on the UFC roster, to be honest with you. With I guess, women's MMA at least, she's not good. She's not good at all. She's 35 years old, so she's not getting any better. Her jiu-jitsu is okay on paper. She looks big and strong, but she's pillow-fisted. She does not hit hard. She is quite possibly the slowest fighter I've ever seen in the UFC, man or woman. Like, she's very, very slow. Just like physically slow. She's not athletic. She doesn't hit hard, and she is not fast whatsoever. Her wrestling, it will say that she had 3 takedowns in her last fight. No, she did not. She caught 3 kicks in her last fight, and then Vidal toppled over and she jumped on top. She had decent top control, so her jiu-jitsu is fine when she's down there, but her offensive wrestling was atrocious. She can't wrestle. She catches kicks, even on a regional scene. I've seen it a ton. Don't kick this girl. I'll give her that. She's phenomenal at catching kicks. And when she catches your kick, you fall over, and then she does not let you up. That's what she does. But she's pretty hittable on the feet with just how slow she is. She's okay when she's going forward, but if you back her up, she does not know how to counter strike. She's not good. And nothing comes down the middle. Everything is just a looping hook, and it's in slow motion. All she does is throw slow motion hooks on the feet the entire time. Her cardio is good doing that, but it's hard to gas out when you're going 2 miles per hour. Again, I'm not trying to harp on the girl, but she's 35 years old. She's only 6-0. She can't strike. She can't wrestle, and her jiu-jitsu is not great. She's okay staying on top. But if you can't take someone down, why does it matter? On the other side, we have Daria, who I was shockingly impressed by. I was shockingly impressed by her striking. She has very fast hands, like very, very, very fast hands. Really crisp, clean, straight down the pipe, straight down the middle shots. Loves her 1-2, man. She will throw it over and over and over again. But I was just impressed with it. She's very effective. She has a ton of power. I mean, she is a women's fighter with basically all knockouts. I mean, she has a decision here, and she has 2 decisions, 3 decisions. Okay, so she has 8 wins. 3 of them are by decision, and the other 5 are by knockout. So she knocks you out more than you go to decision. Now, don't get me wrong. I wish I saw a little more in her cardio. She does seem to slow down a little bit in her fights. That's concerning. And her jiu-jitsu looks really suspect. If you get her to the ground, she seems to have good takedown defense initially. You tire her out, get her into round 2 and 3. That takedown defense starts to decline a little. And once you get her down, she's not good on the ground. At the end of the day, she's not good on the ground. And another weird thing I saw is that she cuts easily. Like, she's bleeding in every single one of her fights. She has that like Nick and Nate Diaz scar tissue thing going on, which is not good with these judges that are doing damage over anything. All they care about is damage. One of these slow ass punches that didn't hurt at all might cut her and give Rendon a round. I don't like that at all. But I don't know if Rendon makes it to the second round. Like, this Daria girl cracks, and she's fast, and Rendon is slow. and she is going to hit her with 8 1-2s before Rendon lands one strike. Like, it's going to be very, very bad on the feet. And straight punches always beat looping punches. Everything in the striking range is perfect for Daria. She should kill her, and that's why she's a debuting minus 220. Like, that's not normal. I really don't hate this under at plus 210. Most of her wins are by knockout. Why plus 210 to the under? I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to take a stab at that. But if you're asking me for a pick, it's definitely gonna be Daria. The bet's gonna be Dari at minus 220, but I will have a little sprinkle on that under 2.5 at plus 210. Next fight of the night. Let's get crazy. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. We got Stephen Wynn at minus 200 going up against Jarno Aarons at plus 165. Over 2.5 at minus 190. Under 2.5 at plus 145. This is going to sound weird. Jarno Aarons is 0-2 in the UFC. He has a loss to William Gomi, who I am not a fan of and I don't think is very good. He has a loss to Sung Hoo Choi, who is on a pretty big losing streak, has one win sprinkled in the middle, and otherwise has been kind of lackluster the last few fights. He lost to both those guys handedly, and I think he's good. I truly, truly think Jarno Aarons is good. When I go back and I watch the fight tape, he doesn't look bad in these fights. The William Gomes, he didn't look great, but that was his debut on short notice. He had a week's notice. I'll cut him some slack. The Choi fight, he dropped Sung Woo Choi in round two. He won round two. It was 1-1, and then he got leg kicked and just fell over and could not stand. So I mean, at the end of the day, Aarons is a really good striker. I'm very impressed with his striking. He's very creative. He throws some jumping, spinning heel kicks and all this craziness. The problem with him is his volume. He is also a little bit of a counter striker. So again, whenever you're a counter striker, you're low volume, and story checks out here. That's what seems to be holding him back. Also, his wrestling's terrible. Like, he cannot offensively wrestle at all. But his jujitsu is good. He actually has some sneaky good jujitsu when he hits the mat. It's just never on top. It's very hard to submit people off your back this day and age. He gets close from time to time, and he seems to be very good on top. But he can't get there because he's not a good wrestler. But the good news for him is that he prefers to strike. He is a good striker. And in this matchup, he is going to actually fight a striker. Don't get me wrong, he has 33% takedown defense. So if Stephen Wynn was smart and he's coming from Fortis, the right thing is to just take Jarno downs. But I don't think he is, man. Stephen Wynn is someone who was supposed to be in the UFC a long time ago, and he stayed real patient waiting for his shot. He fought in the Contender Series 3 fights ago against Elon Cruz, was winning the fight, and then got flying kneed and put out cold with like 20 seconds left in the fight. He then decided, I'm going to go over to LFA. He got a win there in 30 seconds, and then they brought him back on the Contender Series. And he won on the Contender Series, but it was against a very, very low level of competition, and he didn't look good doing it. So they brought him back for a third time, and he fought a very low competitor in AJ Cunningham, who we just saw get like murdered by Ludovic Klein. He's just a punching bag, and he went out there and he dominated as he was supposed to. I mean, he has good striking. He has good volume. He has good cardio. He's coming out of a good camp, but his level of competition is not good at all. I mean, when you really look at it, the guys he fought in Contender Series are some of the worst Contender Series fighters I've ever seen, including the one he lost with Elon Cruz. And then before Contender Series, he fought someone that was 3-2, 9-7, 1-0, 3-2, 0-2, 2-2. Like, he's not fighting a great level of competition. He's very boxing heavy. He just loves to march forward and throw hands. That's about all he does. He wants to sprawl and brawl. I guess he is a pretty decent wrestler, but we never see it. Kind of like how Chuck Liddell was a good wrestler, and we never see it. He never offensively wrestled. Same with Stephen Wynn. He uses his wrestling to just wrestle box you the entire time. So I don't know. At the end of the day, he's a pretty decent fighter. I would say he's kind of exciting to an extent because he gets into these wars and these brawls. But that's to his detriment, man. When he fights someone that's just as good on the feet, he's going to run into some issues. And I think Aarons is. I think Aarons is better than his record shows. He's 0-2 in the UFC, but he's good. Is this a tough matchup? Yeah, because Steven throws a ton of volume and Aarons doesn't. So we're going to look at quality versus quantity in this matchup. And what are the judges going to, how are they going to grade it? I don't know. This could potentially be a split, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, I think Steven wins. I'm going to pick him as the winner, but not a shot. I bet him at minus 200. Fuck that. If anything, it is dog or pass in that situation. So the pick is going to be Steven win, but in a close fight that I think could be a split, I'm going to take the plus 165 as a bet. Bet Steven win, betting Jarno Aaron's. Next fight of the night is another one that I'm going back and forth with. We have Miles Johns at minus 150 going up against Cody Gibson at plus 125. Over 2.5 minus 190, under 2.5 at plus 145. Let's start with Cody Gibson. I love Cody Gibson coming off of the Ultimate Fighter. He has good striking. He's a wrestling coach and is like he's his history teacher in high school, and he's a wrestling coach, and you wouldn't know it by his takedown defense. To be honest with you, he does struggle a little. He has where's his takedown for 64% takedown defense. He starts really fast. Like you hear about these guys that are slow starters and they pick it up. He is a fast starter. He comes out on fire, tries to finish you early. And then as the fight goes on, he does start to slow down a little. He doesn't gas out, but he definitely does slow. But he has good jujitsu. Again, offensively, his wrestling's fine. Defensively, it needs some work. But he is 36. And the other thing I will say is that although it shows 64% takedown defense, Brad Katona is a pretty decent wrestler. Ray Borg's a really good wrestler. Adrian Diaz, I don't know, he got guillotined. Douglas De Silva Andrade is an okay wrestler. Manny Gambarian is a really good wrestler, and Aljamain Sterling is a really good wrestler slash the former champ. So yeah, 64% against people that are like world class wrestlers. So cut him a little bit of slack here. But that seems to be his kryptonite, man. He's a 5-inch reach advantage. He knows how to use it. He fights real long. He has good losses. None of these guys are bad. He beats the scrubs and he loses to the top tier guys. But every top tier guy he lost to is a wrestler. He can get taken down and controlled and lose these decisions like over and over and over again. And that's kind of what we have here in Miles Johns. Miles Johns is predominantly a wrestler. He can box a touch. People overhype his boxing. I don't think it's that great. It's okay. It's serviceable. But he's predominantly a wrestler, someone that wrestled in college. He's taking this fight on short notice, which concerns me because he's usually a gasser. Again, this is another guy from Fortis MMA. This is like the third or fourth guy we talked about. This is the Fortis MMA card, apparently. His jiu-jitsu is not great. But he's pretty low volume. He does have a tendency to slow down in his fights. And again, he's taking this on short notice with all this wrestling. And then the important thing, he popped for the sauce his last fight, and he's coming off of suspension. So at this juncture, everyone and their mother had Dan Argueta against him. Everyone and their mother put money that Dan was going to absolutely gas him out, finish him later, do whatever he has to do because Miles Johns cannot wrestle another wrestler for 15 straight minutes. We all knew this. What we didn't know is that he was going to get steroids and have godly cardio. And Dan Argueta is the one that gassed out, trying to fight this juiced up Miles Johns. Juiced Miles Johns has a good chin and great cardio. He'll go for days, man. So here's the thing. In this post-USADA world, all these guys that have had a history of steroids have all been winning. Like all of them have been winning. The problem is Miles Johns going to do it again? He just came off of a suspension. You are a fighter. He is a pro fighter. He does not have a second job. If he can't fight, he can't get paid. Is he going to take that risk, or he's going to come in as normal Miles Johns who gasses out halfway through round two? I have no clue. I know Cody Gibson also slows down, but Miles Johns gasses. So I don't know. Is Johns going to trust that he's not going to get caught now that USADA's gone? Or is he thinking, I can't afford to get caught twice in a row? I don't know. I truly have no idea. This is a complete stay away. If anything, I'll agree with Vegas and take the wrestler since we see a history of it with Cody Gibson. I'll pick Miles Johns to win. Will I bet him? Absolutely not. If anything, I'm probably going to bet the over 2.5. Cody Gibson's very durable, and Miles Johns, he's not that durable, but when he's on the sauce, he's a beast. So if anything, I'll pick Miles Johns. The bet's going to be the over 2.5. I'll eat the chalk. Next fight of the night is one I've gone back and forth with again. We have Ricardo Ramos at minus 155 going up against Julian Erosa at plus 130, over 2.5 plus 120, under 2.5 minus 155. And that's because both these guys have durability issues. I always compare Ricardo Ramos to old school Charles Oliveira. He's from Brazil. He came in when he was like 20 years old. He was really, really young. He had really good jiu-jitsu, and that was it. He couldn't really wrestle. He had flashy striking with his spinning back elbows. Charles had his flying knees. And they were both known for having durability issues, and then came back, went up a weight class, and went on a winning streak. Like all of that is Ramos and Charles Oliveira to a T. He is following the Charles game plan. Difference is he's starting to hit some bump in the roads coming up a weight class. Charles Jourdain tapped him out, and he's supposed to be the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's not a good look. Zabir Tukhugov was able to just outpoint him. We saw Lerone Murphy knock him out again. It's just Charles went on that long win streak as he was finding himself, and he was finding a little lower level of competition. Lerone Murphy and Zabir Tukhugov, those aren't the guys to be finding yourself in your new weight class. Like, those are real fighters. Danny Chavez, he went out there and knocked out in a minute and a half. Like, that was good. That was a good one for him. Charles Jourdain is one he should have won. He honestly should have beat Charles Jourdain, but he got caught in a guillotine choke. So I don't know, man. At the end of the day, we're not here to compare him to Charles Oliveira. We're here to talk about why he can win this fight. The reason he can win this fight is because he has great jiu-jitsu. He has pretty decent wrestling since he went over and started training with Team Alpha Male. His wrestling's gotten much better. His striking's serviceable. It's not good. It's not bad. It is what it is. He's pretty hittable on the feet. That's concerning. And he can slow down. I've seen him gas out, and I've seen him have great cardio. You never know what version you're going to get. Generally, he's somewhere in the middle where he'll just slow down a little bit. Again, he's been in the UFC for God knows how long. He's been in the UFC since 2017. Jesus Christ. He's been in the UFC, was that 7 years? 7 years, and he's 28 years old. So he's been in there since he was 21 years old. And the main thing with him, though, is he has 5 losses, and he's been finished in 4 of them. So he's a little chinny. And he can gas out and get subbed, so you can finish this guy. He has that quit in him just a touch. Now, he's not a power puncher by any means, but he has 2 knockouts in the UFC by spinning back elbow, and he's buying his own dip. He throws that thing like crazy. Like, you have people that go out there and throw like Superman punches or have like a trademark. This dude, that's his trademark. He will throw at least 4 spinning back elbows around. Like, he just throws it. It's very interesting. It's weird that it keeps working out, but yeah, otherwise, he has 0 power on the feet. Just that damn spinning back elbow apparently could knock out like Habib. It will knock out anyone. It will definitely knock out Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa is my boy, Juicy J. I saw Juicy J live against Julio Arce. He is the absolute man, coming off of the Ultimate Fighter years and years and years ago. He's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage here. He's just the larger guy. He couldn't make 135 like Ramos used to. Problem is, he was on the Ultimate Fighter years ago because he's 34 now. He has good cardio. He has pretty decent pressure. He loves to move forward. Extreme Couture is a good camp. He has sneaky good jiu-jitsu that no one talks about. We saw him sub a few people recently. He subbed Charles Jourdain, so their common opponent. He subbed Charles while Charles subbed Hamas. We saw him sub Sean Woodson. He has pretty sneaky knockout power. We saw him knock out Nate Landwehr in 1 minute. He'll mix in takedowns from time to time. He's an overall good fighter. He's fought good fighters. Charles Jourdain, Hakeem Dawodu, Alice Caceres. He fought Julio Arce, Grant Dawson, Devontae Smith, Sean Woodson. Like, he's fought good competition. He's won Patty Pimblett. He's won some, he's lost some, and most of the times when he loses them, it's by KO. There is potential that Erosa is the chinniest fighter in the UFC now that Shannon Ross is gone. He's next up, man. Like, his chin. Fernando Padilla, knockout. Alice Caceres, Alice Caceres has been in the UFC for decades, like literally like 15 years, to be honest with you. And he has 2 knockouts, and one of them is Juicy J in round 1. Sangwoo Choi, knockout. Julio Arce, knockout. Grant Dawson, decision. Good for you, buddy. Devontae Smith, knockout. Bobby McIntyre, knockout. Like, this dude gets knocked out every loss, man. His chin's so bad. He's such a good fighter. He would be a top 10 guy in his prime. He's 34 now, so he's starting to deteriorate. So his chin's gonna get even worse somehow. If he was 30 years old and he had a good chin, he'd be a top 10 guy. But he has literally historically one of the worst chins the UFC has ever seen. So he's liable to get knocked out. He's liable to get decisioned. He's liable to get submitted by Ramos. Ramos is a killer. But Ramos himself is chinny, and Ramos can gas out. And I see Arosa break these guys over and over and over again with power, with pressure. And again, Ramos is not a power puncher. Neither is Padilla, neither is Caceres. They still knocked him out back-to-back fights. Don't get me wrong. And of course, Ramos has that damn spinning back elbow. But if he can't connect with that elbow, I think Arosa eventually wears him out. And when he wears him out, he has a tendency to sub you. And when Ramos gets tired, he quits. He is a little bit of a quitter. I like Ramos. I think he's a good fighter, but he does have that quit in him. And I think this is tailor made for Arosa to find that. So it's going to be Ramos by knockout, probably, or Arosa by submission. Either way, this fight is not going the distance. So I'm going to pick Julian Arosa. That's going to be the under. And the under is juiced to minus 155, and it's for damn good reason. It's safer than choosing either of these chins or any of these gas tanks. I'm going to pick Erosa, but I'm going to bet the under 2.5. Next fight of the night. Again, this is a greasy card. It's another sketchy one. We have Trey Ogden at minus 155 going up against Kurt Hollabaugh at plus 130. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 130. Under 2.5 at plus 100. Let's start with Trey Ogden because I think he's trash, man. People like Trey Ogden for some godforsaken reason. I think he's pretty bad. I know he's a coach over at Marathon MMA, which is like the new Glory MMA after James Krause left for, I don't know, undisclosed reasons. Trey has good jiu-jitsu. That's it. That's it. His striking's not good. He got outstruck by Jordan Levitt. I mean, with leg kicks, mind you, but he got outstruck by Jordan Levitt. You can't live that down. His wrestling's not great. It's okay. It's serviceable. And his striking is pretty generic. He was somehow winning a stand-up fight against Nicholas Mota. I don't know what was going on there. He was on one. Maybe he was on the gear. I don't know what version of Trey Ogden we saw there. We also saw him beat Daniel Zellhuber and when one of those Dana White Contender Series just choked, making it to the big leagues. So honestly, all of his wins in the UFC are ones where he was huge. He was a huge dog and he should have lost. All of his losses are ones where he potentially could have won. Ignacio Bahamundes is like a 22-year-old kid. He could have went out there and dominated. He's just a striker. Terrible wrestling. Probably could have went out there and just grapple fucked him, but he did it. Jordan Levitt's god awful, and they were standing majority of the fight, and he lost to Jordan Levitt. He should have won that. So should he be 2-2 in the UFC? Yeah, but it's the wrong two. It's like a weird reverse thing going on here. And then he has the no contest against Nicholas Mata. I was on Nicholas Mata. I had a bet on Nicholas Mata, and that was the luckiest bet. That was the luckiest get out of jail free card I ever had in my life. He subbed him. The ref waved it off, but Nicholas Mata never actually submitted. He was going to tap out, but the ref called it too early, and they had to rule it a no contest because Mota never tapped. So we got a little lucky there, but I'm spending way too much time on Trey Ogden. He's notorious for having a good game plan. That's why people like him. They think he's really, really smart. And he is. He's a smart guy. But you can be the smartest guy in the world. If you don't have the physical tools, this is not going to work. Like, there's a reason some people in like the NBA are great coaches, but were terrible players. They just did not have the physical tools and the physical gifts to do it. It's a natural thing. Trey Ogden can have the greatest mind in the world, but if he can't physically do what he wants to do, that's an issue. On the other side, we have Kurt Hollabaugh, who is a 37-year-old fighter, so that's pretty interesting. Kurt is pretty well-rounded himself. He has really good jiu-jitsu. He has half decent striking. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good. Decent amount of little power on him. His wrestling seems to be an issue. 50% takedown defense. Granted, he fought Honey Barcelos, but Austin Hubbard took him down twice in his last fight. Austin Hubbard's not a great wrestler. Tiago Moises, Shane Burgos, like all these guys are really, really good fighters. So yeah, he was in the UFC, he got cut, he came back. Yeah, I understand that. But the guys he lost to, again, are all very, very good. No shame there. He's been in the UFC, I think, multiple times. Yeah. This is his third run in the UFC. But yeah, at the end of the day, don't worry about his wrestling. The major wrestling issue is his takedown defense at 50%. It's not good. But he's very hard to hold down, and he has good jiu-jitsu when you get him down there. For a 37-year-old, he seems to have good cardio. When it comes to the striking, he's the better striker, hands down. When it comes to the jiu-jitsu, it's actually a wash. It's no one's better than the other one. When it comes to the wrestling, I will say Trey's the better wrestler, but by the slimmest of margin. So you're really looking at, can Kurt dominate on the feet, or will Trey get enough takedowns and control time to win the fight? Right now, in all honesty, I'm going back and forth. I was on Trey thinking he'll have a good game plan. I was on Kurt thinking maybe he could catch him on the feet. And then I ultimately resided on this going to the judges. And if it goes to the judges, all we've seen time and time again, and the big one was last week, was Isaac Delgarian versus C-Rod. Damage over control. All they care about is damage. They do not care about wrestling. Wrestling is irrelevant right now to Vegas. So we're in the same place. We're in Vegas, in the Apex, probably going to be the same judges or at least the same philosophy. So in that circumstance, damage over control. Who is going to do damage in this fight? Kurt, and only Kurt. Trey cannot do any damage whatsoever. So the pick is going to be Kurt. The bet's going to be Kurt at plus 130. You can also touch that over 2.5 at minus 130. That's not bad. But fuck it. We're going to shoot for the stars. Let's get the plus sign in front of it. Let's make some money. Pick is Trey, bet is, or sorry, pick is Kurt, bet is Kurt. Next fight of the night, we're going to keep that dog train going, baby. We got Luis Pojelo at plus 135 going up against Fernando Padilla at minus 160. Over under at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 210. Under 1.5 at plus 160. And I'll be frank with you, and I don't care if I'm on an island. I think Padilla sucks. I don't think he's good at all. I don't understand the Padilla hype, to be quite frank with you. He's 27 years old, which is he's entering his prime. Have a 7-inch reach advantage. Great. Great. Very long, lanky guy. That is good. Okay. But I think that's it. I think he has the physical appearance, but he just can't put it all together. His striking's only okay to me. It doesn't look that great. He has a ton of finishes. His jiu-jitsu is pretty decent. I will give him that. I mean, subbing Derek Minner is a nice look. I know Derek gasses out, but still, it's still he's still really good on the ground. So actually, he has quite a bit of submissions. I don't know why I thought he had more knockouts on his record. He knocked out Juicy J, but Juicy J gets knocked out by everyone. He's just not physically strong, man. He's kind of weak. And you can outmuscle this guy. His striking's not bad, but he's not really hurting you unless you're Juicy J. His jiu-jitsu's good, but he can't really wrestle at all, nor does he even try to. His volume's good. I'll give him that. He throws a ton. But my major concern is that I don't see him checking leg kicks. He's a tall, lanky guy who does not check leg kicks. Like those little puny legs, you need to check because you will not be able to walk later. He also doesn't fight long. Like he goes in and he brawls in close quarters. He doesn't know how to use that reach like a Cody Gibson does. Cody does a great job fighting long, knowing he always has reach advantages because he's huge. Padilla doesn't know how to master his length yet. Maybe part of that's because he's only 27. I'm not too sure. He does love to march forward, but his hands are always low as he's doing so. He seems durable. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. He's never been finished. But you can go out there and just outmuscle this little twiggy dude. I mean, if he used the length, I'd like it a little more. But yeah, all that length is for no reason because he doesn't use it right. If he used his length, I would like him a lot more and I would see what other people are seeing. But I don't want a guy with a 7-inch reach advantage brawling in close quarters, especially not against Luis. Luis is not good by any means. And don't get it twisted. He's a Dana White Contender Series kid making his UFC debut. He's 29 years old, so I probably shouldn't say kid. But he has really good striking. And he has really hard leg kicks. Again, Padilla, I've never seen him check a kick. He also loves to pressure, so Padilla's going to come forward, and so is Luis. He is not going to step backwards. The thing with him is he has really, really suspect wrestling, but Padilla doesn't wrestle. And the best part of Luis' game is his cardio, man. This guy fights and fights and fights, and I listened to half of the Dogger Pass podcast, and they made a really really good point. Cody was talking about how these guys in Peru train at elevation. It's like being in Denver. That might be why he has such good cardio. I totally agree. I didn't even think about that point. It was a really good take. Really really good cardio, man. And he weaponizes cardio. I can't even say he's a slow starter because he just comes at you like a berserker and doesn't stop. He has one career loss, 8 career wins, and all of his wins, let's see, he has one decision. He has 7 knockouts, and he breaks you. We see it round 3, round 1, nice. Round 3, round 1, round 2. Like it, most of these aren't just real quick finishes. Most of these are a battle of nutrition, and he always is going to win that battle. Padilla generally has good cardio. I don't see him gassing out, but Luis is he's gonna test it. And the other thing is, even if Padilla doesn't get knocked out, it's gonna be very hard to be effective when you can't fucking stand. He needs to check the leg kick. Luis will throw them, and he will throw them often. And he'll go to the body and hit that little bony ass body of Padilla. Like he doesn't just headhunt. And Padilla's got this big ass head with these lanky arms and legs, and lanky arms and legs and really skinny body is what Luis targets. Like this is tailor made for Luis Pohela, and he's the dog. Yeah, fuck no. I'm gonna pick Luis. I'm gonna bet Luis. We're gonna shock the world. Padilla's overrated. Or he's gonna shut my ass up. We'll see. Next fight of the night, we have Billy Q, Billy Quarantino, -150, going up against Yusuf Zalal at +125. Over 2.5 at -260, under 2.5 at +195. I absolutely hate this fight. The reason I hate this fight is because I'm from Buffalo, New York, just like Billy Q. So I will always support my boy. Yusuf Zalal was a guy that was just a COVID darling. He fought like 6 times during COVID, and kept winning, and then went on a little bit of a losing streak. But Yusuf is good, man, and he's one of these guys where I just bookmarked and said, I guarantee you the UFC gives him another shot. He should not have been cut when he got cut. The UFC needs to bring him back because I will bet him. And now we have one of my boys fighting one of my boys. I don't like this at all. Yusuf finally getting a shot. I love it. Not against Billy Q. This sucks, man. I'm not going to be able to bet this fight, but I'll tell you what you can do without personal bias. Billy Q has good striking. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's very good on the ground. His wrestling's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's decent. His wrestling defense, 63%. Not a fan of that. But he's a pressure fighter, man. All he does is move forward, and gas you out. He's 35 years old, so that's not good. But weaponized cardio is his game to the fullest. Like that is the only way he wins fights, to be honest with you, is a battle of attrition. He comes at you like no one comes at you in this weight class. He doesn't stop. He tires you out. He drives you crazy, and he will eventually break you. Even when you see his finishes late round 2 with just 30 seconds left, late round 3, early round 3, late round 2. Like all of his finishes are in the second and third round because you're gassed and you can't handle anymore. Just happens. He's awfully durable. He's been knocked out twice in his career, but he also has like 23 fights. So you get knocked out twice in 23 fights. I think that's a pretty good luck. End of the day, he's weaponized cardio. He's a generalized fighter. He's good everywhere, and he pressures you until you break. On the other side, you have someone who also has very good cardio and Yusuf Zalal. Now, here's the thing. Yusuf Zalal is in his second tenure in the UFC, and he's 27 years old right now. When he got cut, he was like 25. When he got signed, he was like 22. So, yeah, he did get cut, and I thought it was a little premature because of how young he was. We were watching him develop in the UFC, and they weren't bad losses. Now, here's the thing with Yusuf. First and foremost, he trains with my favorite fighter, Brandon Royval, over at Factory X Muay Thai. So I like that. And he has good striking. Everyone over there has good striking. He has good wrestling, sneaky good wrestling that no one talks about. He'll take you down. He always has good game plans. He will wrestle the striker. He will strike with the grappler. Like he always goes in and does the right thing because he can do it all. He has good jujitsu. He's fought really good guys. I mean, he fought the current champ in Ilia Topuria on Topuria's debut, and he was the favorite. Topuria was a dog in that fight because people believed in Yusuf Zalal. And in that fight, he proved that he's basically unsubmittable. Like he was put in some bad situations, and Ilya, the champ, could not submit him. Like he was just giving thumbs up, sprawling around. Ilya had his neck squeezing his head off, and he just took it, man. It was interesting. And again, he has really good cardio. 60% takedown defense himself. So both these guys are only okay wrestlers, and neither one of them can really sprawl. The thing with Yusuf though is that he has really bad visuals. When he gets hit, he's one of these guys that bounce off the cage after he gets hit, or he gets hit and he starts backing up and like nodding and stuff, showing that you hit him. He needs to work on like his gamemanship in the octagon. Like stop making the other person's movements look bigger than they really are. Like if it's a little shot, you do not need to be bouncing off of the cage. Like pretend like you didn't feel it, Yusuf. Like it's kind of swaying the judges in the wrong direction. Granted, he has good losses. He has 5 career losses. He lost to the current champion Ilya Taporia. And here's the real thing about his UFC run here when he lost 3 in a row and then went to a draw. Ilya Taporia is the current champ, and he lost. And Ilya came in on short notice, so he fought Ilya without even knowing who Ilya was. Sung Hoo Choi, he came in and he was cornering a teammate, got the call, said, "Hey, you're already going to be in Vegas. Do you just want to fight while you're there?" He said yes and took the fight on a week's notice, and went to a pretty okay fight against Sung Woo Choi. Sean Woodson, also on short notice, he took. And he was able to lose a split. It was a close fight. It could have gone either way, but Sean Whitson's a decent fighter. Sung Woo Choi's a decent fighter. Ilya's the champ, and all of those were short notice. And then Damon Blackshear, if I'm not mistaken, that one also, yeah, he was supposed to fight Christian Quiones, and instead Damon Blackshear stepped in. So another short notice, and he went to a draw. He went to a draw because Damon came in and grapple fucked him, and Damon's good. I like Damon. I am a big Damon Blackshear fan. He went out there and just held him down for 2 rounds, got tired, and Yusuf used that cardio and 10-8'd Damon in the third round and got the draw. So yes, he lost 3 in a row and then went to a draw, but all 4 fights were short notice, and all 4 fights are against guys that are doing great in the UFC right now. So I thought it was a little bit of a premature cut. Then he goes on and he knocks out everyone on the regional scene, and they're like, okay, this kid's real. Let's bring him back. But they're bringing him back against Billy Q. I don't like this. And you know what the crazy thing is? Zalal's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here. And Zalal don't want to do this. Zalal has good fight IQ. He has a 5-inch reach advantage here. I don't know. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. Pick Zalal's 27, Quarantillo's 35. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's short notice again. That's the other thing. Zalal keeps having all these losses be on short notice, and this is a short notice fight. So that makes me pick Billy Q. But if anything, I'm betting the over. Both these guys are very hard to finish. The pick is going to be Billy Q. The bet's going to be the over, and hopefully it goes to a draw and no one loses. I like them both. Next fight of the night, we have Peyton Talbot -150 going up against Cameron Simon at +125. Over 2.5 -195. Under 2.5 at +150. Just like previously with Fernando Padilla, I am anti Cameron Simon. I seem to be the only one. I seem to be on an island. I bet the hell out of Christian Rodriguez against him. Don't get me wrong. I bet Cameron Simon on Contender Series against Josh Wayne Kim. I thought his fight tape looked fine. Then it proved to be fine on Contender Series. I was with Cameron Simon. My thing is his next few fights. I mean, Ronnie Lawrence was going to absolutely kill him, but that fight got canceled. Stephen Kozlov came in on short notice and dominated until he gassed out because he was too tired. Mana Martinez is no longer in the UFC. Terrence Mitchell was on short notice and was not UFC caliber. And then he fought Christian Rodriguez and got killed. Don't get me wrong, Christian missed weight. So C-Rod, shame on you. I love you, but shame on you. But at the end of the day, he got murdered because he fought an actual fighter. He's very sketchy. Like his record is not great. He's only 23 years old. The level of competition is not good outside of C-Rod, and he lost the fight. At the end of the day, he trained with Driscus Duplessis, which probably a little personal bias. I'm not a big DDP guy, so I just don't like Cameron by default. Not really fair, but it is what it is. He's 23 years old. That's the other thing. Very raw. Very, very raw. Like it's not that I think he's bad. I don't. I think Cameron is gonna be good. I'll give the devil his due. I think he is a good fighter, just not yet. He's here too soon. He's here too early. We talked about Yusuf getting cut when he was like 24, 25, and now he's coming back. I think that needs to happen to Cameron. I think he needs to leave, develop his game, and then come back and make a run. Because this 23-year-old version ain't it. He has high volume. He has okay striking, okay jujitsu, okay wrestling. He's essentially just a generalist that gets real sloppy. He'll get on top of you, he'll go for a submission, and he'll fall off the back or he'll fall off the side. Like it's just very, very sloppy down there. So he needs some time to mature, clean it up, and come back. If he fights anyone that's decent, he's going to run into some issues. And I think that's what he's running into against Peyton Talbot. But I'm not 100% sure because Peyton Talbot's only 25. He's not much older. He's only 7-0, not much, that much more experience. He will have a 3-inch reach advantage here. He does have good striking. He carries his hands extremely low, which I don't like. He's a little hittable, to be honest with you, but his hands themselves are fast, and he is the definition of weaponized cardio. Jesus Christ, this guy does not get tired. Not in between rounds. He's not even breathing out of his mouth. He's talking as if he wasn't fighting. Like there's no heavy breathing. There's no mouth breathing. He's literally just like Hamas guy. It's very peculiar. He's a very strange dude. If you follow him on Instagram or anywhere, he's not your normal guy. Like wearing stockings and like saying some really weird shit. Like he's very peculiar. He has the huge ass afro. But he throws a ton of volume and he pressures you like a motherfucker. He's in your face. He doesn't know how to back up. Like he physically doesn't know how. He is like Justin Gaethje level forward pressure. Does not stop. Huge for the weight class. Again, have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup, and Cameron's used to being the longer guy. 88% takedown defense. He's not easy to take down. We even saw him in Contender Series. Someone had a single. They put it on their shoulder, and he did a backflip to get out of the takedown. Like he does some wild off the wall stuff. His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. We don't see it because he's very hard to take down, but he's actually pretty good on the ground. He might be the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. The striking's pretty close, but Peyton throws more volume. Um, and he's very durable. Like I talked about Yusuf having bad visuals. Peyton has the best visuals. Like he just eats it and keeps walking, and he starts to talk. He's a little bit of a slow starter. He does that Peter Yanner deal where he downloads everything round one. He almost always gives up round one. Like he never wins round one. And then round two, he figures you out and he beats the hell out of you. And then round three, he finishes you. Like that's what he does over and over and over. Thing with Peyton, I would bet him. I'm going to pick him, and I am going to bet him. Just know that when you have money on Peyton Talbot, he will not win round one. Do not freak out. This is what he does. And then he gets in his own little groove. He gets in his own mind. He starts chirping. And when he starts chirping and getting confident, this dude's unstoppable. So the pick is going to be Peyton Talbot. The bet's going to be Peyton Talbot. Next fight of the night, we have the Golden Boy, Edmund Shabazian at minus 200 going up against AJ Dobson at plus 165, over 2.5 at plus 114, under 2.5 at minus 145. Let's start with the Golden Boy and Edmund Shabazian. He's someone I actually like that also came to the UFC way too early. We talked about busted prospects on this card. Edmund Shabazian. Edmund's still only 26 years old. He was a kid when he came. He has good striking. He has sneaky good jujitsu that no one talks about. He has sneaky good wrestling. Like it's not bad. Um, Problem with Shabazian is his gas tank. He has a good schedule. All of his losses are good. I mean, he lost to Fluffy, who's like a future champ. He lost to Nazarene Imavov, who's a top 10 guy. Lost to Jack Hermanson, who's a top 5 guy. He lost to Derek Brunson when Derek Brunson was one fight away from a title. He was a top 5 guy. So he's lost to nobody outside of the top 10. Granted, he's 1 for 4 in his last 5, but they're all against the top 10 of the division. So what are we doing here? He needs to fire his agent. He is the world's worst agent. Why they continually give him these fights? The fight before that was Brad Tavares. Like, why? This dude was young. He was when he fought Derek Brunson. That was in 2020. That was 4 years ago. He was 22 years old. Why the fuck are you fighting in damn near a number one contenders fight at 22 years old? Chill out. You're gonna get the kid hurt, and it's not like it's flyweight where these guys are 125 like Muhammad Makayev. Like these are grown men at 185 pounds. He's 22. You have him fighting fucking Blonde Bronson. Like what the fuck? Get a new manager. Again, but he thrives. He killed Blonde Bronson round one, and then he gassed. His cardio's terrible. Like it's really bad. He left this camp, decided to go to Extreme Couture, thought maybe a change of scenery would help, and it did to an extent. Now instead of gassing in round two, he's gassing in round three. It's a little better, but the dude has all the talent in the world. He just has no gas tank. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you address that. You just throw less, I guess. Do you wrestle less? Because he's been wrestling a lot lately. He's good at it, but he gets that much more tired when you force him to wrestle. If he wrestles, you guarantee he has nothing left in round three. And that's the problem in this matchup. Edmund Shabazian is the better fighter. Edmund Shabazian should beat AJ Dobson, but AJ Dobson is a striker. And when Edmund fights strikers, he grapples the entire time. When he fought Darren Stewart, he grappled. When he fought God, yeah, Imavov, he grappled. Like, if you are a striker, he's going to grapple you. That's all AJ does is strike. So he's going to grapple AJ. AJ has 64% takedown defense, but that number's skewed. Okay. He fought Jacob Malkoon, who took him down a million times, and Jacob Malkoon takes down everybody. Outside of that, no one else is taking him down. So is it bad takedown defense, or was it just Malkoon is that good wrestling? I would go with the latter. But AJ has pretty decent striking. He's 32. So he's in his prime right now. He'll mix in wrestling from time to time himself. He's just not very good at it. I think the only person he took down was Armin Petrosian. Outside of that, he's a little hittable when he's on the feet. He has good cardio. I'll give him that. That's the best part of his game, to be honest with you. He has okay striking. He has okay jujitsu. He has all right wrestling. But his cardio is good, especially for 185. A lot of these guys get tired. He doesn't. He looks fine. He'll go a hard 15, absolutely no problem. The thing is, there's a talent difference. Edmund's the better fighter, literally everywhere. However, let's get greasy. You want to get greasy? Where's the tinfoil hat? Pop it on. Dobson trains at Immortal MMA. That is ran by Matt Brown and Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman, God bless his soul. We all know about the story of Mark Coleman and the fire. Terrible story for some things. And I mean, he got his parents out, which was the heartwarming part. Mark Coleman has been in the gym already. Like he's out of the hospital. He's obviously not training or anything, but he's in the gym showing his face. Will Mark Coleman be in the corner? I don't know. If he is that not inspiration that your coach almost died literally like a few weeks ago and now he's in your corner in your fight? Edmund is definitely going to win round one. Edmund's probably going to win round two and then be gassed in round three. If you send AJ Dobson to the corner on round three with Mark Coleman, who just fought for his life and won, if you're looking for inspiration, Jesus Christ, the movie is writing itself. AJ round three is plus 1800. Edmund has been finished in round three times. You have a coach who is going to scream at you and give you everything they have to inspire you, who just came back from death. And you're going to have to come back in a fight against a gassed opponent. AJ round three is so fucking live. It will 110% be the glory play unless there's something else that seems real easy. But I will have money on AJ Dobson round three. That's what I'm playing. The pick is going to be Edmund Shabazian. He's the better fighter, hands down. But AJ is going to have that heart. AJ is going to have that dog in him, and I just sense a third round finish coming. The book is written. It's going to happen. So the pick is Edmund. The bet's going to be AJ, and honestly, it's going to be live betting AJ. I might wait until round three, to be honest with you, or I might be round two, but I will live bet AJ Dobson. Next fight of the night is, for some reason, the co-main event of the evening. The fight that should not be happening. We have Carl Williams at minus 180 going up against Justin Tafa at plus 150. Over under at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 165. Under 1.5 at plus 130. Let's start with Justin Taffa, not Junior Taffa, because that's who it was supposed to be originally. Justin had the weird blunder at UFC 2, where was it? UFC, whatever it was, against Marcus Rogerio de Lima, the Vault card, 298. He was supposed to fight, pulled out of the fight the day of weigh-ins. Never really said why. Now, Justin Taffa has missed weight before. Only two men have missed weight at heavyweight, and he was one of them. So, was it because he wasn't going to make weight? Did he have an injury? It's just weird that he did it right before weigh-ins, and then his little brother stepped up to the plate, who was there to corner him, just like Yusuf Zalal, and stepped in and took the fight, and ultimately fought Marcus Rogerio de Lima. Now, de Lima like crippled his brother. So, Justin, you're fucked up. But yeah, I don't know why he pulled out of his last fight a month ago. That's sketchy. I don't like that. Red flag number one. Secondly, Taffa has good striking, okay power, but his level of competition is god awful. It might be the worst in the UFC. He beat Austin Lane, who I don't know if he's still in the UFC. If he is, he shouldn't be. He beat who is just a retired football player. He beat Parker Porter. He beat Harry Hunsucker, and he beat Juan Adams. That's who he beat. That's it in total. And the fights before that, before he's in the region, before he's in the UFC, he was only 3-0 when getting into the UFC. And those guys were 2-0, 1-0, 0-0. This guy's record is one of the worst padded records in UFC history. And you know what? He has 3 losses in the UFC. They're not good. They're not good losses at all. He lost to Jorgen De Castro by knockout. That's not a good look. He lost to Carlos Felipe, who's no longer in the UFC, and he lost to Jared Vandera, who's no longer in the UFC, in a striking match. So he has 3 losses, all to guys that the UFC said were too bad to keep around. Those are his losses. All of his wins, guys that are too bad to keep around. Like, none of his wins or losses are still in the UFC outside of Austin Lane, and Austin Lane is destined to get cut. So, yeah, not a good look. Again, he's a Mark Hunt protege, so he has pretty decent striking. We have no idea about his jiu-jitsu. We have no idea about his wrestling. No one's tried to grapple with him. We have no idea if he can even do it. We're going to find out in this fight. We have Carl Williams, who, and you know what, low-key, actually, we saw him rocked against Carlos Felipe. He was rocked against Jared Vandera, and he got knocked out by Jorgen De Castro. So his chin is suspect. Like, let's not get it twisted. He might have a little bit of a suspect chin there. On the other side, we have Carl Williams, who is a little bit of a fraud himself, just not in the sense of who he fought, but the fact that he's not a heavyweight. He's doing the Jailton Almeida treatment, where he is a light heavyweight, but he's just faster and more athletic than all these heavyweights, so he's just staying up at heavyweight. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here, but again, most of his career is at 205. He can make 205. He's just so much faster, just like Jailton Almeida, that he can literally take everyone down, just like Jailton Almeida. The thing is, he was predominantly a striker. He played football in college, got over into the MMA world and started striking. And all of his fights on the regional scene, he was a striker. He was not a wrestler. But then as he went up to heavyweight, he realized they are so fucking slow and I'm so athletic. I can take down anyone just because I get so deep in their legs as I'm so much faster. It's easy. This Jailton Almeida 2.0, he doesn't have the jiu-jitsu of Jailton, but he can strike. That's the difference. Jailton is a good ground game and he can wrestle. Carl can strike and wrestle. And we saw it in this last fight against Chase Sherman. He struggled to take him down. But you know what? He still won the fight because he could fall back on his striking. He has good striking. He just never uses it. He does take little mini breaks in there. He gets tired from taking these big boys down. I'll give him that, but he never gasses. He'll slow for sure, but it's heavyweight, so they slow down as well. The only thing with him is I don't know if he's chinny. I said that about Jailton because he never really gets touched, and when he does, he doesn't react well. Same like Carl, man. He doesn't like getting hit. If you touch him, he like backs up and freaks out. He's so fast that he hardly ever gets touched, but yeah, we thought that about Jailton, and Jailton got knocked out. So hopefully Taffa doesn't connect, because Taffa can definitely put out a chinny 205er. But he's got to catch him first. And Jesus, Taffa is slow, and Jesus, Carl Williams is fucking fast. So I do wish Carl had more takedowns than just a blast double because Tafa is such like low center of gravity. He's a short, stocky build, so it's gonna be that's tougher to double leg. Like if he knew body locks, he's so much taller, he's so much longer. If he knew how to just kind of jack his arms up and get a body lock, it'd be easy money. Is he going to do that? No. Carl only shoots blast doubles. If he gets enough momentum and Tafa goes down, he's gonna go towering over anyway. So it's either going to be Tafa by KO or Williams is going to destroy him because I doubt Tafa has anything on the ground. So either way, this is not going to go the distance. I'll take the under, but I'll probably take the under 2.5. That's probably the route I'll go. So the pick is going to be Carl. Minus 180 is probably value on him, but I'm just scared he gets chin checked because he's not a heavyweight. So I'll just take the under. Under 2.5 is giving you really good odds. Bet Carl, bet under 2.5. And that takes us to the main event. If you've enjoyed listening to my voice for some weird reason, go make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. And again, we have Amanda Hebos at plus 205 going up against Rose Namajunas at minus 250. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 is plus 115. Under 4.5 at minus 145. Let's start with Amanda. I don't think she's bad. Like she has okay wrestling. She throws that head and arm much more than I would like her to. It's not a good takedown in MMA at all. It seems to work in women's MMA for some reason, but I don't feel comfortable with that, especially against someone like Rose. So she needs to stop that. But outside of the head and arm, she does have okay wrestling. Her striking's not bad. It's real what's the words like herky jerky, kind of like a Tim Elliott type. Not a fan of that, but it seems to work for her. Her jujitsu is really good. I will give her that she's predominantly a jujitsu practitioner. She seems to have good cardio. I've never seen her go 5 rounds, but she doesn't look tired when she is fighting in the 3 rounds. The problem is, and she has pretty good volume. The problem is this is at 125 and she's a 115 pounder. I'll give it that Rose is also a 115 pounder, so they just both mutually agreed to fight at 125. So that's fine. That actually works in her favor here. Problem with her is her chin. Her chin's awful. She gets knocked out all the fucking time. She has 4 career losses. She got chin checked by Luana Pinheiro, but ultimately stayed awake and won the fight. Macy Barber knocked her out. Caitlin Chukagian, Seminara would have lost to her, but Chukagian beat her via split in a close fight. She beat Verna. That was interesting. Vivian Araujo is an interesting fight. I thought Vivi was going to win, but that was interesting. Marina Rodriguez knocked her out. Pollyanna Viana knocked her out. So yeah, she has 4 career losses and 3 are by knockout. Girl's chinny, very chinny. She gets head kicked all the fucking time. Like I don't know why she can't see head kicks coming. She needs to work on that. Overall, she's a good fighter, good cardio, great jujitsu, good wrestling. Some pretty decent wins against Vivi and Verna and Luana. Even did she beat Mackenzie? I could have swore she beat Mackenzie Dern. Yeah, she did. So yeah, credible wins, good volume, good striking, good jujitsu, good wrestling. Just can't take a punch. Pretty chinny. On the other side, we have Rose, Thug Rose. That's the thing. Are we getting Rose Namajunas, or are we getting Thug Rose? That they're two completely different people. She is a little mental. She has like a therapy dog. I'm not saying it to be anything against her. I'm just saying like she does get in her own head. She's known for yelling, "I'm the best. I'm the best," trying to convince herself, give herself that confidence. When she's confident and she's on, she's the best 115 pounder in the world. I'll be honest with you. She is. She truly is. When she's not all the way mentally locked in, you don't know what you're gonna get. You'll see her get choked out by Carla Esparza. You'll see the Carla Esparza rematch where they just circled around and threw like 10 significant strikes each. You'll see her get slammed on her head not paying attention. Like there's good and bad Rose. Even the last fight against Manon Fiorot, that was good Rose. She just was compromised. She like broke her hand or her pinky. Her pinky was sticking like all the way out. Like she just could not throw a right hand. She was a one-handed fighter up a weight class. She tried. She looked good and she won a round with one hand. Like she's a good fighter. She's just very, very mental. She has good striking. She has good jiu-jitsu. 60% takedown defense, but her takedown defense used to be bad. It's improved throughout the years. So I'd be interested to see what that number is over the last like 5 years, opposed to her whole career. Sneaky power though, really, really good head kicks, which is crucial because Ribas doesn't see them coming. And again, she has really good power. We saw her rock Minan Farrow. We saw her knock out Wei Li Zhang. We saw her rock Jessica Andrade. We saw her knock out Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She has a lot of finishes on her record, and even if you get her down to the ground, she submitted Paige Van Zant. She submitted Angela Hill. I don't think she's going to submit um Ribas, but if she clubs and subs her, that wouldn't surprise me. Like she has good jujitsu, she has good striking. She's the better striker. I'll give her that. Her rest. This is gonna probably be make or break in the wrestling game. If Ribas is able to continually take her down and stay safe, which I think she can, I think she's live. I think this line is incredibly wide. Like Ribas can definitely go out, take her down, and just hold her down. The problem is, although Rose's takedown defense has gotten better, it's her stand-up game, which is kind of making the difference. Even when she does get taken down, she stays safe on the ground and then gets up. And when she gets up, they're forced to strike, and she is the much better striker than Amanda Ribas. And I think eventually she's going to clip her. That's why the under 4.5 is the favorite. That's why it's minus 145. Everyone thinks Thug Rose is going to clip her eventually. She has 25 minutes to do it. And I think she gets the job done. So the pick is going to be Thug Rose. The bet is going to be Thug Rose. And that's UFC Vegas 89, Ribas versus Namajunas. Again, we've been on a roll as of late, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx anything. Keep an eye out for the glory play. I always wait until Friday where I can see all the weigh-ins and then see all of the props that are up. But we have been on fucking fire. Let's keep it up. Let's get paid again. Let's get it.